The Democratic Party is showing the early signs of the same disease that destroyed the Republican Party. Republicans, back in 2010, their leaders.
I love all the liberals who were so concerned about Trump winning because fascism was going to take over are more than happy to act as agents of it. It is no exaggeration to say that the fascist Trump administration right now is cracking down on left-wing and independent outlets, creators, commentators, activists, and instead of putting his energy into fighting the fascism that he claims to be so opposed to, he's doing propaganda on behalf of them. Now understand that he, along with Brian Tyler Cohen, are one of the top people of the chorus creators. So when you see the paid chorus creators receiving that dark money from anti-left billionaires, understand that the messaging is coming from the top. It's not an accident that all the paid chorus creators that are a part of this cohort shit on the left constantly instead of focusing on the right, which is ostensibly what the project was. The idea that during this fascist administration you would spend a single solitary second punching left is so fucking unserious that the only way that it makes sense is if you're getting paid for it. Alas, of course they are. But it's not like his ass needs the money. How many AI slop children's books have this guy put out? Don't you have enough money? This guy went on a screed on his show about the left for like 10 fucking minutes talking about this is the symptom of the same disease that the right had. First of all, why are you saying it like the right lost? You're like crying about the Tea Party takeover of the right. The right won. The Tea Party won. Who has the House? Who has the Senate? Who has the White House? Who has the Supreme Court? The right wing.
What's up, family? You ever seen somebody try to warn their own side about something real and get treated like the enemy for it? Because that's exactly what we're looking at today with David Pakman. Now, for anybody who don't know, David Pakman is a progressive political commentator, been doing his thing for years, has a solid audience of left-leaning viewers who rock with his takes. But something happened recently that got people talking. Pakman put out a warning to Democrats, a real one, not the usual talking points, not the party line stuff, something that actually has some truth to it. And instead of his audience listening, instead of them saying, okay, let me think about what he's saying, they turned on him. They went after him like he was the enemy. And that right there tells you everything you need to know about the state of political discourse or conversation in this country. So here's what happened. Pakman looked at the current political landscape and gave Democrats what I'm guessing was some honest advice about their position, their messaging, their strategy, something that was probably uncomfortable to hear but needed to be said. Maybe it was about the border. Maybe it was about how they are losing working class voters. Maybe it was about their messaging on crime or the economy or education. Whatever it wasn't the standard script. And that's the problem. When you go along with the script and you're basically with the go along, get along gang, and you've been saying everything that they wanted you to say, and now all of a sudden you want to be honest, and you never was like that from the beginning, that tells you that you'll fall for anything. So now the same individuals that you told them what they want to hear, but now all of a sudden you want to give in the name of honest advice, like you care, but you didn't care enough to tell them the truth from the jump. Now they're turning on you. So whatever it wasn't the standard script. And it wasn't the other side is evil and we're perfect, right? Democrat versus Republican thing. It was a real assessment. And you know what happened next? The comments filled up with people calling him a sellout, saying he's compromised, saying he's working for the other side, saying he's betrayed them. His own audience ate him alive for telling the truth, right? Think about that for a second. A man who has spent years on their side, years defending their policies, years going after Republicans and conservatives, gives them one piece of real talk, one moment of honesty, and they treat him like he's the opposition. That's not loyalty to a cause. That's loyalty to a feeling, actually. Just loyalty to a feeling. And that's why you don't run off of feelings. You run off of logic. But that's people who don't want solutions or strategy or reality. That's people who want confirmation or validation. Just individuals that say what they want to hear so they feel as though they're right. So they want to be told they're right and everybody else is wrong and stupid and evil. And the second somebody breaks that script, they get treated like a traitor.
I saw a video of David Pakman explaining that the Democratic Party is currently showing the signs of disease that destroyed the Republican Party, and yes, that's a good thing. I don't care about the rest of your video, David. I can't believe I liked David Pakman at one point. This is like 10 years ago. He is the perfect encapsulation of scratch a liberal and a fascist bleeds. Hardcore Zio. Gets plenty of money from them too. Yeah, the Democratic Party does need to be essentially destroyed. That's basically the only way we're gonna get what we want, is that party ceases to exist. But it won't. It's gonna continue doing what it does and towing the Republican line while sprinkling us some crumbs now and then. Because the plan for people like you, who will not even let mild reformists into the party, mind you, these people are still capitalists. Democratic socialists are still capitalists. The current iteration of democratic socialism doesn't address imperialism and how we extract wealth from the rest of the world. You won't even let those people into your fucking party, though. That's how unreformable it is. But this is why I just support the most far left-leaning candidate possible. No matter what, elections are not going to provide the power necessary for us to get what we want. The levers of power the system provides to you are not going to be used to fundamentally change that system. You're going to get token reforms that are torn away at over the next couple years. That's why somebody making minimum wage back in the 60s and 70s would be making a lot of money right now. Your purchasing power has been completely obliterated by capital. That's all purposeful. Union membership at crazy lows as well, of course. And there are many other things I can't enumerate here because it'll take 20 minutes. But David Pakman recognizing that the Democratic Party will be destroyed by the far left is correct, and it should be. Because at current pace, if we just vote in Democrats eternally, maybe by 2049 we'll have a universal recycling program to combat climate change. That's about as good as they can get us.
Well, now here's where the bigger conversation comes in, because this is not just about David Pakman. This is about how we as a society treat honesty. We say what we want people to tell, right? We say we want people to tell us straight. We say we want the truth. We say we're tired of politicians and media figures lying to us. But when somebody actually tells us something we don't want to hear, something that challenges our worldview or makes us uncomfortable, we shut them down, we call them names, we question their loyalty. Now, of course, a lot of this has come. Now, I can say this objectively. Both parties have came to the simple fact that they didn't want to hear the other side because they were just so engulfed and passionate about what they wanted. But you cannot sit here and disagree to the simple fact that the ramp up of political violence and the simple fact that we can't even agree to disagree or have a difference of opinions have not been so far left leaning and coming from the side of the left, where to the point where lives have been lost, for example, like Charlie Kirk, and my heart goes out to his family and his children and things like that. God rest his soul. But it has come so extreme to the simple fact that hypocritically, the Democrat Party is not only going so far left, and they are so far left now. They're not going, they are. But this is what happens when you claim as though you want the truth, but you don't remix the truth based on feeling, because that's all feelings do. Feelings, when you run off of feelings, it gives a lot of people to run into the Victim Olympics and basically remix definition and remix, basically selectively cherry picking things of the truth to remix it to their feeling of how they want to feel to validate that what they're saying is true, until you look at the long-term effect of it, because they're only in the short term of how they feel in that moment, and they want to be validated and feel happy about it and want to only get heard or want to only hear what they want to hear. Then it tells you just how far the Democratic Party has went, because not only has in the power of control and greed, they always wanted individuals utilizing the mainstream media and telling people what they want to hear in regards of how they want them to believe it and how to think and what to think. And now you have basically created a society of individuals that want to hear only what they want to hear. The energy that you put out, in this case, the Democratic Party and the far left, is the energy you're getting back. You wanted individuals to tell you as a party instead of serving the people, but you went party over people. You wanted people to tell you what you wanted to hear. You used the mainstream media to basically tell people how to think, what to think, and what to say. And you basically censored, limited, and erased and eradicated the truth and only used what benefited the party. And now you created a group where the simple fact is the monster has grown so big. Now they only want to hear what they want to hear. And as soon as you don't say what they want to hear, now they won't support you no more, no longer. So you now created an environment of entitlement. You create an environment of individuals who only want to hear what they want to hear. And you have created influencers like David Pakman, who've been staying so long on a foundation of sin and not a firm, strong foundation of just saying the truth and being objective, no matter Democrat or Republican. But he basically has played and was a factor in the extremism of a lot of individuals getting killed in the name of political violence at this all-time high. Political violence has been so extreme at an all-time high like never before. Not to mention that we have individuals, as Marco Rubio has said, we have individuals, basically China journalists, individuals from Cuba, and individuals who basically created these movements and organizations that are very organized. That, for example, when we have arrested Maduro, they already had signs and stuff ready, asking for the release of Maduro outside of the courtroom. So they are very organized in regards of basically creating these movements because they want to overtake America and basically become the strongest nation on earth by overthrowing America. So basically what I'm saying is David Pakman is feeling the energy that he put out and he's tasting his own medicine, right? And I got to be honest, you don't see conservatives killing Democrats or liberals. All the violence is coming from the left side. Now, I do objectively say fairly that there has been on both sides of the parties where you wanted individuals to say what they wanted to hear, right? Because individuals and our human nature is flawed. We want individuals that agree with us. It makes us feel good. But we cannot say for an individual like Charlie Kirk, he basically reached out and basically touched so many young individuals because he showed them the possibility of being able to have discourse, even if we agree to disagree, but still have respect for each other and love and unity, but still being to have a conversation and not be attacked for having a difference of opinion. Critical thinking. So now David Pakman is feeling the very thing that he wants to fear. He's feeling the very thing in regards of, he's feeling the thing that he once feared, I should say. And the reason why I say he once feared is because basically he put out this whole synopsis of a message that, hey, we want politicians and media figures to stop lying to us. But have you ever thought about you telling individuals what they want to hear? And now you're feeling the very thing that you feared, which was them turning on you because you told them what they want to hear. And now you want to say the truth because deep down, the guilt had to eat you inside to the point where it's like, now I have to tell the truth in the name of telling the party, the Democrat Party, an honest type of conversation that you want to have to make things move forward to support your party because you want your party to win. Everybody wants their side to win, right? Everybody wants a strategy to win, right? Life is full of wins and losses, right? Ups and downs. So you really can't have an honest conversation because you have built a base, even with your influential following as a influencer and a political commentator. Now, the thing you once feared has come to fruition before you, as in regards of individuals basically turning on you. Because he had to fear it, but battling with himself mentally, should I tell the truth or should I keep telling individuals what they want to hear because I'm fear what they want to say? And it's the same thing that the Democrat Party is going battling with overall. Why do you think Chuck Schumer is so quiet right now? Was Jerome Udami and these Democratic Socialists of America? Why do you think that AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, can't answer in regards of, do she support the Democratic Socialists of America wanting to abolish the Senate? And she's basically saying, I'm just focused on doing my job right now. Why do you think Hakeem Jeffries is so quiet? So David Pakman was already fearing this, but he decided to give it a test anyway and tell somewhat of tell the truth to see how it is. And I won't be surprised if he switches up and basically try to save face because individuals are turning on him as we see now. But this is what he said.
Watch the whole video, listen to the whole segment before you send me hate mail. You know when it starts that way, it's going to be good. Listen, the Democratic Party is showing the early signs of the same disease that destroyed the Republican Party. I've got so many friends on the left texting me and saying, David, we're not going to allow the same thing to happen on the left that Trump did to MAGA, that Trump and MAGA did to Republicans, are we? Republicans back in 2010, their leaders laughed at the Tea Party. Conspiracy theorists, they're far-right internet trolls, they're not going to do anything. And then the Tea Party took over local organizations, threatened primaries, built their own media universe, and eventually were part of a process that gave us Donald Trump. The left and Democrats can't make the same mistake. There is a small group of far left extremists gaining influence inside youth groups and party organizations because they spend all day online organizing and enforcing ideological purity and attacking anyone who disagrees. Now, let me be very clear. I am not talking about people who want Medicare for all and affordable housing. I want all that stuff.
All he's basically talking about is the socialist movement that's basically taking over his party and the Democrat Party in which he supports. And he fears it, that it's going to go so far extreme that to the point even the fear of what he eventually has to face and the fear of him telling the truth right now as he speak. Because it makes you question, is it really his friends fearing it? And it may be, but I know for you to tell the truth right now, the very thing that you feared, you had to obviously say it, and now you're getting a backlash for it. So maybe it took for Trump to be in office because the simple fact is the Democrats, when they're in control under the Biden administration, they were censoring individuals. So it was easily to contain this far left disease. But now that Trump is letting it be exposed for all the American people and individuals throughout the country, United States of America, to truly see that, wait, these are actually far left extreme individuals to the point where they want to take over America, bring their ideology. And it's so extreme that we got to let people see it for themselves, because the simple fact is the Democrats been trying to contain this. So we have to let the monster out so individuals can see, oh, this is what's been going on the whole time. But now you can actually see it, and we're going to put it in front of you and you make the decision for yourself. Because it's easy to be fooled when it's contained. But now that the monster and the cat is out the hat, and how so far extreme and these Democrats or left socialism in the name of communism individuals are, how so, and a lot of individuals would say these far left lunatics, they have become so extreme, but they were contained under the Democrats because they were censoring these individuals on social media, so they couldn't create these movements so strong. But it makes you also wonder, who was the dictator all along, and the Hitler and so forth, and things that they called Donald Trump. So the Democrat Party was projecting the whole time, because the very things that they called President Trump, our president currently, they were the very individuals who were censoring individuals, and they couldn't even talk about the jab, right? The pandemic, the mandemic and things like that. So it makes you wonder, they were basically trying to contain this socialism by not going so far left, but only far left to meet their needs. And now they can't contain it anymore because Trump is saying, look, you have to see how so extreme these Democrats are. I just have to let you see it for yourself. And now it's being seen, and now he's trying to have an honest conversation. So he feared this along with the Democrats, but there's nothing they can do now. So now these he's trying to put it in the name of, oh, Trump and MAGA movement and things like that. All Trump did was speak the truth, and it speaks for itself. You guys, the one had to create and still using organizations within our adversaries that are running big countries, because you have to look at it. And I give President Trump the credit, because they were basically saying China is against Trump and making them as enemies against each other so bad. But in September, President Xi is coming to America. That's a big thing. So they were trying to make it as though President Trump and, who the president running China was so much of an enemies, when they're really not. We are the biggest countries in the world, China and the United States of America. And Hillary Clinton, she said, well, we should work with China to take the elections. But you can't say that China and these movements, when it comes to Cuba, that were constantly using spies to basically undermine the United States with these socialist movements that only were filtered through the Democrat Party at a certain period of time, and other things were censored because the Democrat Party was controlling what was allowed or not, because they wanted the movement to favor them to stay in power. But now that they didn't get back in power, thank God. Trump is exposing what it really is, and now we can really see for what it is. So he's trying to portray it as Trump. That's how Trump slipped in through social media and creating his movement and things through Truth Social and all that. That has nothing to do with it, because before they kicked Trump and removed him off for all of social media platforms, and he went on Truth Social. I refute that because he had obviously won and had a first term before, right? Before the pandemic got out of hand and censorship was taking place and individuals were getting banned for even talking about the pandemic. Anything Dr. Fauci labeled as basically a danger to community for speaking out or even questioning the pandemic or COVID, they were censored. And that's what they did also with this socialism and things like that. But now he's just trying to project in the name of having an honest conversation about a disease. But let's just be honest, the Democrat Party is a disease in itself, and they created their own disease, and now they have to figure out how to revive themselves and resuscitate themselves to the point where they made themselves so sickening. Comment down below. Tell me if I'm wrong or not. We're just having a conversation.
I'm with all that stuff. I'm a social democrat in the style of Northern Europe. Of course, I want those things. These are folks who treat political warfare like a full-time job. And when they can't build their own coalition, they attach themselves to popular causes. They take real concerns about healthcare, housing, police misconduct, and use them to sell what is actually an authoritarian worldview. Now, there are things in DSA, for example, Democratic Socialists of America, that are good and that I agree with. But there's also some stuff in there that I think doesn't make any sense. I saw their new platform promises a country where you have no debt, you pay no rent, no mortgage, you receive publicly funded housing, publicly funded retirement, food, education, energy, medicine, transportation. And it sounds incredible because it is incredible. How would they create it? Government ownership of the largest corporations and of entire industries, universal rent control, abolishing police and prisons, and abolishing the Senate and replacing our political system. Some of these ideas are reasonable to a degree. For example, I support universal health care, and I've talked about 4 or 5 ways that we could get to it. I want affordable housing, and I've done a dozen interviews with housing experts on what would and wouldn't work to get us there. I support progressive taxation. We need to collect more taxes from the very rich. Voting rights have been hurt in this country. We need police reform. So there's elements of this that are great, and any social democrat like me will tell you we got to do that. But you bundle it together, and this fantasy in which capitalism, private industry, and major parts of the government simply disappear, most Americans don't want that. Most Americans understand that there is no way that you could impose that without extraordinary authoritarianism. My one hesitation about confronting this now, and why I went back and forth, is the midterms. Publicly exposing the rot could make moderate voters think the entire Democratic Party has been infected.
That's just fear right there. Bingo. Bingo. Hit it right on the nail. That is his fear, and he's trying to say it in a general sense, but he fears it. He's scared of his own party. He went from party to this, Democrats to this, and Democrats are great. And he was a cheerleader saying everything he wanted to hear, and he's scared out of his mind.
But I don't think silence is really going to hide it. I saw a crazy thing from the weekend where there was a college Democrats convention, which I was actually invited to participate in, and I couldn't make it. Hassan Piker was dressed like Mao, and I guess Destiny tried to show up, and he was banned from entering allegedly because the Mao-dressed Piker didn't want him there. Republicans are going to put these clips everywhere. Like, people seem crazy when they see this stuff.
Oh, so it seems to me that he's just mad that it would not have them have political advantage or control. It will actually expose the disease that they've been having. It proves my point. It's okay when they can contain the disease, and it's very deceiving as in regards of not as out there where American people can see it and it not be questioned. So basically, he's okay with it, it seems as though, as long as we can be fooled as the American people. Family, he wants us to be fooled, basically. But since we're not fooled and they're just coming out here and saying these things and telling us who they are, he's basically disagreeing with that certain type of disease. The disease of just putting it out there and saying what we are. So he wants the cowardly route that they used to take in regards of saying one thing and doing another. And that proves my point. You can't sit there as a Democrat and say, I'm tired of public figures and media figures and politicians lying to us. But when somebody tells you something you don't want to hear, something that challenges your worldview or makes you uncomfortable, you shut them down. And now it's a disease you want to talk about, right? All over the place, double-minded, confused in all their ways. He's just mad because it's being exposed. It doesn't seem like to me he's not okay with it. Let me know what you guys think. It seems as though he just don't want them to not. He doesn't want them to hurt the Democrat Party for having a political advantage. But you can quietly contain it and just don't put it out there so much so it can be used or questioned. So we can fool them.
They are going to abolish the police and abolish borders and abolish prisons and play them on a loop for 6 months. If I were an average voter with no knowledge of these online personalities, which most of these people are, most people don't follow this sort of thing. They're busy living their lives and working and doing all this stuff.
Exactly. So he wants people to be caught up in their own lives to the simple fact that they be ignorant to the things that are being said, where you just say the things that they want to hear because they're so busy distracted on their only livelihoods that if you say just enough to gain our support, it's okay. But now since the rot has been, you're just coming out here with the rot and you're showing the rottenness of our party, it is going to hurt us. I don't agree with that. That is a disease. That's basically what he's saying.
If I were an average voter with no knowledge of these online personalities, I would find these images and a lot of this stuff very alarming.
He wants low information thinkers, basically ignorant voters that they continue to fool, like the Democrat Party has been continuing to fool for so long, and now it's not as working as much, right? Because thank goodness we have platforms that allow the truth and cannot be censored, and that's why also I can respect Elon Musk. Now, X can be, formerly known as Twitter, can be wild depending on what you're looking for, but it does have some utmost disclosure of truth if you're seeking to find that as well. And that's the beauty of it, because now things are being put out there, right? Where individuals can look this up and see it for itself, even throughout their busy lives. And that's why AI is so beautiful in that way, because we have so much information that can help you mine that out. And now that the rot is out there, you can easily just catch it and question it and find out. And he didn't want it to be exposed at all. And now look, we're having a disease amongst our party. How could you just show these things to the American people? They're busy living their lives. All we had to do was say the right things. And then you can do whatever you want once you get control. How do they follow this man? He's misleading and deceiving as if the rest of the party he supports. Nobody is really supporting anybody unless it benefits them and is what they want to hear. And as long as they continue to selfishly look out for themselves, they'll eventually eat themselves. And that's what's happening as well, which is why you see his supporters are turning on him. They don't really stand for anything. They only stand for what benefits and feelings and emotions.
So as I said last week, and so many of you agreed with me, Democrats must act now and intelligently. The centrists don't really do anything, make very milquetoast fringe suggestions that you don't even really push for. Not working, okay? This other thing of like end everything, it's a sort of destructive accelerationism, that's also not going to work. So I think that what we need here are no apologetics for dictatorship, no apologetics for authoritarianism, no harassment, no anti-Semitism, no allowing online factions to decide which liberals may enter the room. You know, what would I even have been allowed at that college Democrats thing? They invited me months ago. I don't know. I mean, I couldn't go, so we didn't find out. So we just need normal people to participate, join local committees, attend conventions, get involved with state parties, and let's turn the DNC into something that works. Many reasonable people doing a little can defeat both the centrist do-nothings and the hardcore extremists who would get nothing done. Republicans believed they were going to control the extremists. They were like, we got these people under control. The extremists took over the party. Democrats can still prevent.
Why would the Republicans need to control the extremists if the extremists is actually giving? They're actually giving. It's like, why would the Republicans need to control the extremism if they're basically giving them their vote? They're handing it on a platter, on a silver platter. The reason why us American people should vote Republican. They're crazy. And you're even saying it yourself, and you're trying to say normal people. At this point with the Democratic Party in itself, what is normal? And this is what I mean. He's trying to project. I'm reading through his nonsense of foolery and deceit, just as the rest of the party that he supports. Because the simple fact is, what is normal at this point? Things have gone so far as to extreme, and you're trying to make it like Republicans want to contain the extreme. No, you're trying to put the genie back in the box for the extremism that you basically contained that was working to keep you on control, and now it's not working anymore. So now you want normal people. Oh my goodness, can we just get normal people? What is normal? And this is the thing, the centrist that you're talking about that does a bunch of nothing and say bland statements with no substance or no, don't even substantiate their point or detail so we can get a full understanding. It's the same thing you're doing, David Pakman, because what is normal? You have to tell me what is normal people at this point. Because it's either destructive political violence, don't get my way, because I didn't get my way and you didn't tell me what I want to hear, and eradicate everything, or it's let's just cater to the working class people, act like we're going to give them handouts, but continue to basically build the swamp and add more water and continue to overflow the swamp of corruption in the name of self-enrichment while we put party over people. So what would be normal? Because you would fall into the category that you just defined as in the centrist, bland, not saying, not doing anything, but making sure you pat in your pockets in the name of feeling or telling the working class people little talking points with no explanation on how you're going to do it. Kamala Harris's word solid.
That outcome, but we've got to get them to get things under control right.
Yeah. Well, he want his party to get things under control. Wish you luck, buddy. Genie's out the box. But anyway, and happy to see it because we need the truth. So I'm going to say this. When you look at this, right, this is exactly how echo chambers work. An echo chamber is not just a place where you only hear your own views repeated back to you. Echo chamber is a place where anybody who steps outside their approved narrative gets punished. And when you punish honesty, you know what you get? You get more lies. You get people afraid to speak the truth because they don't want to lose their audience, their friends, their community. In this case, it's David Pakman. He feared this, but it's happening. You get a political environment where everybody is performing instead of thinking. And that is how entire political movements lose touch with reality. And now he wants normal people. And that's how you end up surprised on election night. That's how you end up wondering why you lost when your media told you everything was fine because you built a system that rewards loyalty over accuracy, and accuracy is the only thing that wins in the end. Actually wins in the end. But at the end of the day, family, there's a reason the Bible says in Proverbs chapter 27, verse 6, wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. Think about that. When somebody who's on your side tells you something hard, something that stings, something you don't want to hear, that's actually a sign they care about you. They're not trying to hurt you. They're trying to save you from making a mistake. But an enemy will tell you exactly what you want to hear. They'll stroke your ego and keep you comfortable all the way to the door of disaster. And that's what we're seeing play out in real time. David Pakman told his audience what he believed was the truth, a truth meant to help them, and they treated him like an enemy. And they rather have people who multiply kisses. And that's a dangerous place to be, whether you are a political movement, a political party, a family, or an individual. The life wisdom here is simple. You have to learn the difference between somebody who's against you and somebody who's for you, but telling you something you need to hear. And your ego will tell you they're the same thing, but your ego is a liar. Your ego wants comfort. Your ego wants validation. Your ego will rather be right about everything than actually win. And if you let your ego run your decision making, you will walk straight into a loss while everybody around you cheers you on. So when somebody on your team tells you something you don't like, pause before you attack them. Ask yourself if they might be trying to help you. Because the people who only tell you what you want to hear are not your allies. They are enablers. And enablers will let you burn the whole house down while telling you the fire looks beautiful. In this case, that's what's happening with the Democratic Party. And also, I can't even trust David Pakman because he's telling half truths, but he's trying to generalize it. If you realize he can't come out and say the Democratic Socialists exactly, he just mentioned movements, where it became things like the DSA. And I agree with most of the things, but certain things it's just like, why? It just doesn't make sense. He can't fully attack them because he's fearing that they're turning on him. But regardless, once you questioned anything of your party, David, they turned on you anyway, and it's happening now, as you guys can see. Let me know what you guys think about this. Spread that peace, love, and positivity. Let the love supersede the hate, family. I'll catch you next one. Peace.